This is problem 8-70 from section 8.2.1 homework. Write each of the following expressions in the form a plus bi. So that is including our imaginary numbers that we just learned about. So let's start with problem A. And imaginary numbers, this I happens when I take the square root of a negative number. So I'm going to rewrite the negative square root of 20, or square root of negative 25 as 25 times negative 1. Alright, so we just separated the negative sign basically from that. So negative 18 is going to stay the same, minus, I could rewrite this as the square root of 25 times the square root of negative 1. Alright, now I know the square root of 25 is a 5, so I bring down my minus sign, and I have a 5 there. The square root of negative 1, we learned that that is also called just I. Okay, so I have an I right here. So that's going to be the solution for problem 1. The square root of negative 1 is called I. That was the imaginary number that we just learned about. Okay. For part B, I can rewrite this as, let's do the same thing, 2 plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to write 16 times negative 1. So I'm separating the minus, the negative sign from the 16. So I can rewrite this as 2 plus or minus the square root of 16 times the square root of negative 1. Separate it entirely. Okay? Now I know the square root of 16 is 4. So 2 plus or minus 4. And the square root of negative 1 is called I. And that's all divided by 2. Now I can simplify this a little bit because each of these terms on the top is being divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 gives me a 1, plus or minus 4 divided by 2 is 2, and I keep my I there. Right? So that's for part B. The square root of negative 1 equals I. That's the important thing that we learned about. Alright, so C, last one. C says 5 plus the square root of negative 6. So I'm going to break this down one more time. Square root of 6 times the square root of negative 1. Okay. I don't really know the square root of 6, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But I know this is worth I, so I could write this, possibly, like that. Okay, the I on the end, making sure the I is not part of the square root sign, it's not underneath it. But more commonly, you're going to see the I be moved in front. Okay, so this is going to be my answer for part C. I know the square root of 1, or square root of negative 1 is called I. It's an imaginary number. And most of the time, we're going to put that in front of the square root. Just like if you simplified the square root, and you were able to pull out, say, a 2, you'd put it in front. I'm going to put the I in the front most times of the square root as well.